Hello, this is Eric from labofcoding.com. In the last video, I gave a quick overview of the Django template language, and we were able to load our to-dos from the database into our template. In this video, I'm going to pick up from that and going to look on how to style our page, because as of now, it looks a bit ugly. We are going to do that using Bootstrap version 4. Bootstrap is a high-level CSS framework which is quite popular. I have downloaded the latest version of Bootstrap, which is Bootstrap version 4.1.3 as of now, and I've extracted the minified version of the CSS in my project. We will only use the CSS file of Bootstrap. We won't load the JavaScript file because we won't need anything fancy like pop-ups and so forth, which require the JavaScript. So for now, the Bootstrap version alone the CSS version alone will be now. In a Django project, static files are files such as CSS files, JavaScript files, and the images that you use. So the way that Django works with static files is quite similar to the way that it works with templates. Django has a setting which tells it to look for a static directory in each of your apps. So if it finds that directory, it will load all the static files in that directory. So let's create that directory static in our main app, and just like we did for the templates, let's create another inner directory main. So this is where we'll keep our static file, and it is from that place where we load them in our templates. So let's move our Bootstrap file there, and to load your static file in your templates, you need to use a tag known as static. And unlike the for tag or the if conditional tag, which are loaded by default, we need to load the static tag. So there is a tag known as load, which is what you use to load tags that are not loaded by that are not loaded by default. So we have loaded our static tag using the load tag, which serves that purpose. And in the head tag, let's include our Bootstrap file. So the way that you use the static tag, you'll just give it the path to your static file and it will load it in your template. So in this case, the path will be main bootstrap.main.css. To see if our Bootstrap has been loaded correctly, let's add a button and give it a Bootstrap button class and see if it will be rendered as expected. So let's give just a string like awesome, and let's use the Bootstrap button class, button primary. Let's save that and let's refresh our page. Awesome. You see that the button has been rendered correctly, meaning that our Bootstrap file has been loaded correctly. So if we inspect this, if you go to the head section, you'll see that Django has loaded the Bootstrap file, and in the href URL it has prepended a string static. So this string is all your static file will start with this string, and it's configured in the settings file. If you go to our settings file, you'll find that there is a setting static URL. So this is what will be prepended to all your static URL. You can change it to something else if you need to. So for now, let's remove the button and let's wrap everything in a Bootstrap container. So let's remove this and then let's have everything wrapped in a Bootstrap container. Let's paste everything there and let's refresh our page. Yeah, that looks a bit better now. So let's go to Bootstrap website and grab our nav element so we can add it to our page. So let's go to the components and let's search for the nav element. Is it? So let's copy a simple nav element. Let's copy this and let's paste it in our container here. Let's refresh our page and see if, yeah, that looks a bit better, but we can add a margin on the nav element, a top and bottom margin using Bootstrap's spacing utility classes. So that will be a margin on top and bottom. Yeah, that looks a bit better now. So now let's display our to-dos in a table, because the way that we are displaying them is not that good. We refresh our page, you see that the to-dos have been rendered like a random string, so I think having them in a table will be better. So let's use a Bootstrap table. So let's go to the Bootstrap website, content, and under tables. So let's look for the table inverse, table dark script. So let's copy this markup. Let's paste it under the h3 element. Let's refresh our page and see if all is well. Yeah, so now we'll display our to-dos in this table. So we know that our to-do have a field of title, they have a description, and they also have a done field, and the header due date. So what we'll have now, we will generate every table row in our for loop, and so instead of generating a p element, we will generate a table row. So we can remove all the rows and remain with one, and then so when we are looping over the to-dos, we will generate each table row. So I think we have to move this within the table body. So let's save that. So we have our first column as title. So let's remove this. So that one will be to-do.title. The next one is the description, so that would be to-do.description. Then you have to do done. And then we have the to-do.date, to-do.due date. So that's fine. We can remove the p element. We no longer need it now. Yeah, so when looping through each of the to-do, we will generate the table row. So let's refresh. Awesome. So we have our to-dos displayed correctly. So we can remove the lorem ipsum string. Yeah, that looks a bit better. The for loop tag has a counter variable which you can use to get the count of each row in our for loop. So let's add that one as the first element there, which will be the counter, and then we'll use the for loop counter variable. So it is for loop.counter, which will give us the count of each row as we are looping through the list of our to-dos. So let's refresh that. So we have the counter. So if you want to start from 0, there is another one which is for loop.counter, or which starts from 0, but in most cases we'll want to start from counting from 1. Yeah, so that's it for now. We'll pick up from this in the next video. Happy coding.